Well, here we go again. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the network, where today we're going to be taking a look at some more items from AliExpress. This time we're going to be taking a look at console modding accessories. So we'll ultimately see if the stuff from AliExpress is actually, worth the money. So without any further ado, let's just hop right into it. So the first item we have on the docket is this R4 dual card. Now this is a Nintendo DS flash card. You can't see it on here because there is a sticker covering it, but this also works on 3DS consoles. However, it does not play 3DS games from my understanding. It only plays DS games, but you can play the DS games on your 3DS, if that makes sense. Now taking a look at this box, I believe this was about $4 or $5 at the point that I bought it. Now these typically you can order them everywhere. They come off of Amazon, you can get them on eBay, but the cheapest has to be AliExpress. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and pop this thing open. It's kind of weird where it says "Caution, I'm hot" on the side of that. Like this is a flash card. This isn't like food, so why exactly it says it's hot really doesn't make much sense. But here's the card itself. Now this says it's a dual core smart update. It works on the 2DS, 3DS, DSi, and I believe this also works on the original Nintendo DS. We'll go ahead and test that out. Now this takes a micro SD card, and then it came with a micro SD to USB adapter. It did not come with a micro SD card, so I'm going to have to get one of those. Now, from my understanding, these can take up to 32 gigabytes in size, which should be enough for all of your Nintendo DS games. Let me just preface this now. Through this video, I'm not going to be showing you how to do all these. If you guys want step-by-step tutorials on each of these different console modding accessories and how to get them up and working, go ahead and leave a comment down below, and we can do, normal Video Game OR episodes on how to set all these devices up. However, for the scope of this video, we're just going to be taking these devices, kind of testing them out on already modded consoles, or pre-configuring them off camera and then testing it to give you guys a synopsis on should you buy these from AliExpress, and is it better than buying it off of Amazon or eBay for like 3 or 4 times the price. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and load this R4 card up with a DS game and an SD card, and hopefully everything works.
A few moments later.
Alright, we now have our R4 card all set up and ready to go, or at least the micro SD card. I'm just using a 16 gigabyte Micro Center SD card, so we'll just plug that into the micro SD card slot, and then I have my childhood Nintendo DS Lite, and we'll see if it fits. It does fit in there, so that's cool. Let's go ahead and turn it on, and it shows as Deep Labyrinth on here, which is normal. We'll just go ahead and start that, and it should boot into our R4 card. Okay, so we can now see that we're inside of Twilight menu, and everything is up and running, so that's pretty sick. We can navigate through. We got our Twilight menu launching things. We have a GBA folder and ROMs. Now, if you want to delete or hide any of these folders, you can go ahead and press X and then just press A or Y rather to hide them. And we'll do the same thing with this Twilight menu plus thing, as these are basically just gonna boot back into Twilight menu. So like it's just kind of like a restart button. We'll keep one of them available, and then if I click select, that'll open up our options menu, or at least in theory it should. So we can change the language here. We can change the theme from DSi to 3DS to Sega Saturn. That's kind of interesting. Homebrew launcher, R4 Game Boy Color. Let's just see what Game Boy Color looks like. Okay, so we'll just go ahead and click on the ROMs button, and then we'll navigate down to should be Nintendo DS, and then there is our new Super Mario Bros. ROM that we put on there earlier, and we'll see if this thing works. I mean, so far so good. It looks like everything's up and running, and with these R4 cards, you can run a whole bunch of stuff. You can either run Nintendo DS, you can run Game Boy Advance. It's got emulators for like Genesis, Super Nintendo, NES, all sorts of stuff. The only thing that you can't do is, although this is a 3DS card, it cannot play 3DS games, so it's limited to only Nintendo DS. But as we can see here, Mario seems to be working all right. So with that, I say that this R4 card is not half bad, especially because this thing was like, what? I think it was $4 I paid for it, and on Amazon, this literally the exact same card is selling for 30 bucks. So sure, the shipping will take a lot longer, but if it's the same product, why pay more? But with that, let's go ahead and move on to the next item. Okay, so the next item that we have on the list is, as it's put on here, new one piece for GameCube NDGC SD2 to SB2 Pro adapter, SD load, micro SD card, TF reader, Oh yeah, and I don't think I said this with the R4 card, but I'll have links to all these in the description down below in case you wanted to pick these up. So this is a disc that should run or should have Swiss on it for the GameCube. Now, the GameCube modding scene, you can soft mod a GameCube. Well, you can soft mod or hard mod a GameCube either with a mod chip on the DVD drive. You could use a Flippy, you could use a Pico boot, any of those things. And what that'll allow you to do is run burned discs, and my guess is that this is a burned disc that has Swiss on it, and Swiss is kind of the Swiss Army knife of homebrew for GameCubes. It's like your homebrew launcher if you were using a Wii. So we'll go ahead and test to see if this actually has Swiss on it or not. And then the other thing we have here is a serial port adapter. Now, when you're doing GameCube mods, you can either load games via the SD, or not the SD card slot, but via the memory card slot 2, or you can load it from underneath the GameCube if you have a DOL001 model. Now, they have two different versions of these. They have ones where you can just take like a PCB like this that has the micro SD card in it and slide it up into your serial port 2, or they have ones like this where you plug your serial port connector into an SD card reader at an angle, so then that way you can access the micro SD card slot without needing to take the bottom of the console apart. Now, for those of you unfamiliar with the serial port 2, here is the bottom of the GameCube. You have serial port 3, which is your Game Boy player. You have serial port 1, which is for your broadband adapter, and serial port 2. Now, this was used for debugging, but as you can see, if you take it off, you do have a little plug. Then what you can do is take this little adapter, and then you just slot that right in there, and then you can throw this back on top. And what that allows you to do is access the micro SD card through the side of the GameCube so that you can load your games or homebrew or whatnot on there. So we'll just take a couple of games, put it on an SD card, shove it in here, and then we will grab our modified GameCube that has a mod chip in it, and we'll see if this is indeed running Swiss on it. So yeah, we'll just cut back with modded GameCube footage. Okay, so now we're in my room where I have my GameCube here. This is already modded with a Xenon GC chip, and we have our little SD2 to SB2 adapter, or our little adapter for serial port 2. And then I also have this SanDisk memory card. This memory card I use already for modding, and it has a couple of my GameCube backups on it. So we'll just go ahead and plug that into the serial port card. Clicks in pretty good. And then let's flip over the GameCube and plug it into serial port 2, which is located right here. Put that in there, and it does not want to sit flush, so that's already a thing. All right, there we go, we got it in. So now let's go ahead and turn on the GameCube and check to see if this disc is indeed running Swiss. Let me actually take out my current one. So this is a NIC disc which already has Swiss, so we'll be able to at least test the adapter in case this disc does not work. Okay, and after a couple hiccups, it seems to be that everything is up and running, and it does look like our serial port 2 adapter is functioning. Let's go ahead and test it out with some Super Monkey Ball 2. Just to see if everything loads, which so far it looks like it is. That's a plus, and obviously it did load into Swiss, so then that does mean that the mini DVD that we got does have Swiss on it. That works. So it looks like the little disc and the serial port adapter are working just fine. So with that, I guess we'll move on to the next item. Alright, now the next thing we have here is a GC2 SD micro SD card adapter. Okay, so what this is as I was saying earlier with the Swiss disc and how you can launch it either from serial port 2 or the memory card slot, this is how you would go ahead and connect it to a memory card slot. So basically what this is a GameCube memory card that has an SD card slot in it. So when you plug this into memory card slot 2 through the power of Swiss, you can choose to load your games or your homebrew off of this. Now it also says that it works for the GameCube and the Wii, and that's because most Wiis have backwards compatibility with GameCube. So you can also run GameCube homebrew on your Wii, although it'd be a little more difficult to do, but we can get into that at another time. But yeah, let's go ahead and load a game on here, and we can test this in our chipped GameCube with a Swiss boot disk that I know will work. All right, on to the next item to test, which is going to be this GameCube to SD card adapter. So because we already know that this disk that we got works, and so does the serial port 2 adapter, we'll just go ahead and eject the micro SD card out of here, just like that. And we will take the micro SD card and just insert it inside of our memory card adapter. Now this can go into memory card slot 2, and then we'll just go ahead and turn our GameCube back on. Oh, it looks like we already have like a little indicator light, so that's pretty neat. Okay, and on the GameCube, it looks like it is loading. So the benefit of loading via the serial port or the memory card slot, the serial port is faster and it's a little more inconspicuous, so you can kind of free up both memory card slots. But if your GameCube is a DOL001 model that doesn't have a serial out port on the bottom, or you're using a DOL, I think 101 is the other model that doesn't have any ports on the bottom, you can use this memory card adapter instead so that you can still load your games off of an SD card. So it looks like this GameCube memory card to SD card adapter is working rather well. And again, with this and the SP2 adapter, if you want to make use of them, you'll need some way of booting into Swiss, whether that be a modified game save on a GameCube memory card or, you know, modding your console and using a Swiss boot disk. Anyway, but with that, let's go ahead and move over to the last item. Okay, last but not least, we have the BitFun-X MX4SIO SD memory card adapter, PlayStation 2. I don't know what this thing is called. Again, we'll have the links below in the description in case you want to pick one of these up. Now, this comes in a really nice case. So basically what this thing does is it's similar to the GameCube memory card slot thing. So on a PS2, you have a program called FreeMcBoot, which is similar to Swiss or the Homebrew channel on, you know, the Wii and the GameCube respectively. And what you have on the PS2 is a program called OPL. Now what that'll allow you to do is run PS2 games either from an internal hard drive, the USB ports, or the memory card slots. And that is where this thing comes into play, as this is a memory card or a PS2 memory card to SD adapter. So what you can do with this, similar again to the GameCube one, is throw an SD card in the side of this thing and then plug this into memory card slot 2 on your PS2, and then you can run games off of it. Now this is better than using a USB stick, as USBs are extremely slow, and if you're doing this on a Slim, you don't have the option to use an internal hard drive, which would be the fastest, so this comes in at a close second. Now we'll go ahead and get a SD card all formatted and OPL set up on the PS2, and then we'll go ahead and give this a test. And again, if you want to see step-by-step tutorials on how to use any of these devices, go ahead and leave a comment down below and we can cover these on Video Game Noir. But I'll go ahead and do that real quick and we'll come back. Alright, so now that we're over on the PS2, we'll take our MX4SIO card and a SD card, standard size. Now, there were two different options on the website where you could either do full-size memory or SD card or micro SD card. I vouch for full size, so we'll just insert that in here, and there is a specific file structure you will need on this card in order for it to work, and an updated version of FreeMcBoot and Open PS2 Loader. But we'll just go ahead and insert our memory card. So now you can see we have a green light on this memory card, which means it is indeed doing something. So now we'll just head on over to OPL and see if we can actually load a game off of it. Okay, so now that we have OPL open on the PS2, we're gonna head into settings and then scroll down to the BDM start mode and set that to automatic. And then from there, we're gonna head over to block devices and turn on MX4SIO and then click OK. And now if we press circle to go into the games list, we should see our games here. So as you can see on the MX4 card, we have this blinking blue light, which is a sign of an issue somewhere. Now, most commonly, the problem is the SD card that you're using is incompatible with the MX4. So unfortunately, I only have this brand of SD card, so I'm unable to test to see if this MX4 card is actually fully functional, which is somewhat unfortunate as I'm unable to confirm, you know, full functionality or not. But currently, it's not working. So with that, I guess we'll just head on back to the bench and wrap this up. So overall, it looks like almost all of our modding accessories that we picked up off of AliExpress were fully functional. Everything aside from this MX4 card, which may not be a fault of the card itself, it could just be the SD card that I was using, but you know, it is still a fault nonetheless. So if you enjoyed, remember to like and subscribe so that you don't miss any new videos from the network. And if you want to see more content like this, be sure to leave a comment down below on what you'd want to see covered, as well as if you'd want individual guides on how you can use each one of these modding accessories. And with that, I'll see you in the next one.